Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the 47th time. But for the first time, I'm searching out some messages hidden deep within the show. Jeff and I are two veteran Star Trek podcasters who joined forces to bring you Babylon 5 for the first time. And we've had so much fun doing that, we decided to do it again with a show that many of you out there have said you wanted us to do.
So whether this is your first time through the gate or your 47th, we invite you to come along on this journey with us as we give what I'm told it's a pretty good show. Well, we'll see. Stargate SG-1. We're going to give it the for the first time treatment. For me, since this is my first time, I'm just going to be experiencing this as it unfolds, bringing all of you along with me to relive your first viewing experience.
But we are still going to be looking for what we have come to call those Star Trek-like messages, those sci-fi messages, really, wherever they pop up throughout the show. You know, those messages that hold up a mirror to society, give us hope that things can be better in the future, or just plain tell us how to be better human beings to each other.
And since this is still not a Star Trek podcast, we are going to bring over a game. We love our games on the For the First Time shows, and we're going to play one from the Babylon 5, one called The Rule of Three. The Rule of Three means we are limited to no more than 3 references to Star Trek per episode.
That's it. 3. 1, 2, 3. No substitutions, exchanges, or refund.
And if we do make one of those references, you're going to hear this.
However, we are adding something new to the Rule of Three right here for the Stargate show. Anytime we make a Babylon 5 reference, you're going to hear this.
Oh, yes.
And of course, those references are unlimited.
All right, man, I can't wait anymore. Let's kick off this week's episode. But just before we do, I just want to kind of wrap up a few thoughts from last week. The episode we're heading into is The Enemy Within. And we ended last week's episode with Kawalsky getting a goa'uld.
Good. Yeah.
I'm getting it. Kind of jumped into him.
Yeah,
and
a baby goa'uld. It was a real baby goa'uld.
A little itty bitty baby.
It was a larval one. Yeah. Not a larval one. Yeah.
So cute. It's just cute. What bad could happen? I mean, right? What bad? Right. The episode ended with him opening his eyes, and we got the goa'uld glow out of him. And so we got to meet the characters last week. I don't have a lot more thoughts on top of what we talked about, but I am looking forward in this one, kind of doubling down on my prediction to find out how it's going to impact Kawalsky and what that's going to mean for SG-2 and the rest of the team.
Well, all right, Jeff, as you said, this is season 1, episode 3, The Enemy Within. It's episode 3 because the pilot episode technically was episodes 1 and 2. The original air date was August 1st, 1997. So, Jeff, that actually, we're doing season 4 of Babylon 5 right now. Season 4 was 97. Like, these shows are actually happening at the same time, right?
How cool is that?
We did not plan that. That is something else.
It all worked out. Perfect.
Two fun notes just to kind of look for over the course of this particular episode, kind of behind the scenes sort of stuff. Amanda Tapping, who is the lady who plays Sam Carter, fantastic actress, one of my favorite. There's a scene in this episode where she gets shoved into an elevator, and when she did that, she in real life she suffered a concussion. So and I'm almost sure, I could be wrong, but I'm almost sure that the shot they used of her was the one where she got the concussion.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's anybody else in the elevator with her, because if there is, just heads up, we're going to reprise an old hit. It's warning, just fair warning for you.
And then so Tilk has the thing on his forehead.
Is that a tattoo or don't tell me. Never mind. I'm guessing it's a thing.
Do you want to know? It's not really.
They'll tell me eventually, right?
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
They will tell you yes, and yes, eventually. Okay. But we'll call it the yes, that thing. The makeup department hasn't decided which way is up yet, and so if you watch it, it actually it kind of flips sometimes. So
that'll be fun.
Anyway, all right, let's jump into this week's episode, The Enemy Within. If you guys are just joining us for the very first time, the way this works is Jeff and I are going to watch this episode for the first time right now together. We're going to pause what we're doing. We're going to watch this episode. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you are going to get the reaction cut up video, the reaction video that we normally put out. You're going to get that. However, if you would like to see the full unedited reaction, you can head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Babylon5 first, because that is still our main show. And you'll get the full unedited reaction from Jeff and I.
And for those of you listening to us on a podcasting app like Good Pods or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something like that, well, it's just going to skip over the reaction altogether. So make sure you stick around, because right after the episode ends, if you're watching us on a video thing, if you're on the audio thing, just wait a couple seconds. But we're going to do the podcast thing, right? Where I'm going to break down what I just saw, kind of go through my first time experience. And then Brent is going to tackle any messages that might have come up in that episode. So let's do this.
Chevron 7 locked.
What about it?
I feel like, okay,
You
let me just kind of walk.
literally, all right, so we're back. For the audio folks out there, we're back. We just finished watching the episode 22 seconds ago. Go, Jeff.
I'm just going to take you kind of through the sequence of events here for me, right? Like kind of just stepping through.
Yep.
All in all, enjoyable episode. We learned some huge and heavy stuff. So we learned about the iris, 3 micrometers from the thing, so that the matter can't reconstitute.
Mm-hmm.
The goa'uld are trying to bust through and attack them, but they're going to stop, 1 or 2 more times. They're going to quit because whatever. I liked that we learned more about Teal'c. Very stoic.
Yes.
Almost. I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't know. It just, the warrior, and I'm quiet and just kind of taking things how they are.
Yes.
He said a thing I found to be confusing. So last week in the pilot, he saw O'Neill's watch. And he's like, this is not goa'uld technology. Yet here he talks about goa'uld magic. And so it's like, is it magic? Is it technology? But the next big thing we learned about the Tauri.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah.
So the next big thing makes me understand that, and that these goa'uld have been around now for millennia, for a very long time, seeded us from Earth. We are the Tauri. And so they're obviously feeding the information that people want. So this is magic. This is tech, even though it's all tech or whatever. So learning a lot more about the goa'uld. The Kawalsky stuff, I think there's a really great debate in here to have around what Colonel Kennedy brought on board. The debate between, do we do everything we can? Do we lean towards our humanity to do everything we can to save Kawalsky? Or do we lean towards logic and just let the goa'uld take over and question and learn everything we can? It's almost a needs of the many versus the needs of the few, or the one, kind of a conversation to have. But I also think it's appropriate kind of a conversation, because I tell you what, if we have aliens here, that's what we did. Like we're not going to treat them. We're not going to lean towards humanity. That might be the cynic in me speaking, but I feel like that was quite, for you maybe in the future, a bit of a mirror to society on how we're going to treat people. I'm becoming a huge fan of O'Neill, big time. The guy's cool. He's making great jokes. I think, though, my favorite thing about him is just how coolly and simply and calmly welcoming he is. Sitting across from Teal'c, a mystery in every way. We don't know anything about this guy, and he's just meeting him like he's another dude. Hey, at a core place, we don't have a better word to use than basic core humanity. I wish we had a better word than humanity, but that's how he's treating them. Hey, we're cool. We got one little flash scene at the end of him arguing, hey, just because he wasn't born here, he doesn't get the same rights. Like, what's the deal? I thought that was great and a big piece. I kind of lost it with how this episode ended, though. The Kawalsky stuff was kind of ridiculous. So he's been taken over by Kree. the goa'uld that jumped over to him.
I want to stop. That was you might be picking that up from what you read in the subtitle. That is not what he said. He did not say, he did not say my name is Kree. That is not what he said. We never got the Goa'uld's name. He said Jaffa Kree, which is something you will hear the Goa'uld say to, like, it's their Jaffa, like, Jaffa, attention. Jaffa, listen.
Okay.
Jaffa, it's, you know, like aloha in Hawaii means like 84 different things. Kree means that same thing in Goa'uldese.
Okay. I thought he said, I'm called Kree.
The subtitle said that as well. He said, my name is Kree. That's not, he just said Jaffa Kree. Like, shut up, listen, attention.
Here I thought I picked something up.
Yeah, no,
like, ooh, look at that. But I kind of did. It's a word. But he gets wrapped around Kawalsky's, vertebrae and going through the thing. Everything was great. Even Sam and Kawalsky in an elevator. Brent, that's 2 series that we've got to do that in.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. That was fine. Then we get to the surgery. And what they literally show us in the surgery is Dr. Dude cutting the Goa'uld in half and slipping out half of it. And that half was like massive. Yeah. But he's like, okay, mission accomplished. I'm like, you cut it in half. And then, oh my gosh, how shocking. He wakes up, and after an extreme surgery, he gets up, chokes out Tilk, takes out a number of military personnel. Like, this isn't, like, really? No one's going to stop him. You even said it during the reaction. He jumps in. He's like, everybody get out. And they're like, okay, right. I guess we'll just get out because a guy in a hospital gown yelled at us.
Right.
Like, really? You're going to make it all the way?
It took the gate technician guy, like the little kind of wimpy, dude, to get his wrist broken because he was the only one willing to try to stop it. I'm telling you, that guy right there, you will eventually learn his name. I'm going to let you learn it in real time. Yeah. That guy, he's like the Miles O'Brien of he's the most important man on the show. Is that guy right there. He's just, everything revolves around him. Right now, he's gate guy. He's gate technician guy.
Gate technician guy. He's the GTG, as it were. So and then he dies. Tilk, brutal, takes him out, and then a little piece falls out, and I'm just like,
oh, that's the part exactly left.
Yeah, it's exactly what they showed us.
Like, you said that, and I was like, damn, he picked it up.
Like I've here like in all capitals. I'm like, isn't that exactly what we saw happen? Right. Like, why is anybody surprised? Wow. So
how much medical malpractice did that doctor do by leaving half of the Goa'uld in his head?
Right. I mean, the only thing he could have done worse is, oh, sorry, I left a sponge and my scalpel in there too. Wow. But I do one thing that I really appreciated was, again, God, this series so far, I mean, we're 2 episodes in. It does a really good job of like question answer around the world building, just giving us enough so far. So I made a note, and it was, if the Goa'uld take over Kawalsky, how does Tilk not get taken over? Like, is that what being prepped as a Jaffa is making it so you hold it and it doesn't take you over?
Ask that question one more time, because I think I can answer it.
So, I'll give you the second way I wrote it. First, if the Goa'uld are the dude's taking over Kawalsky, doesn't have control over it.
Yeah.
How is it that Tilk isn't getting taken over?
So
the way I that's how I rephrased it, because I might answer. I said, is it a question of in the belly versus in the head? Like, is it almost that simple?
Well, it's a question of what they're doing, because when they actually go into the head, into the brain, the Goa'uld is melding with the host. When the Goa'uld is incubating effectively in the Jaffa, that Goa'uld is not doing anything with the Jaffa. He's just hanging out there,
just in a womb. Chamber,
he's just basically in a chamber, a womb, something, waiting to go do something else. So that's 2 very different things that they're doing.
Okay, that makes sense.
There is no communication between Goa'uld and Jaffa.
They just happen to be in the same space.
Yeah, like they one doesn't know what the other's thinking. You're not, impressing it with your thoughts, and just for whatever reason, the Goa'uld can like open up their shirt and like call the thing forth, and it comes out, and then he's like, no, I'm going to go back in. Like, that's about the only like control, I guess, that they kind of have over each other.
It's almost like a muscle contraction, even like it's not.
It might
like
even
a
be
mind
that.
thing.
Like it might be the Jafa's like muscles contracting, pushing him out versus like sucking him back in. Those are some wicked strong Kegel muscles, man.
For real. Dude, look at this. And so I think it answers my question. But the other question I had was like, do they have to have a host? Can they survive outside of a host? And it sounds like they do need to have one.
The goa'uld?
The goa'uld.
Yes, they can survive outside of a host, but keep in mind, they're just a snake at that point and they don't have thumbs.
Oh, yeah. No better than monkeys, really, at that point. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. The ending really, all that Kawalsky stuff, man, that it went from interesting and kind of cool to just like, oh God, it's literal sci-fi of the week. Kind of I was pretty disappointed in the ending.
So let me just say this, because I haven't said this yet. This is before we went on mic. I was like, I want to say this or I want to save it. Here's where I'm going to say what I was going to say earlier. When you and I first started doing Babylon 5, we said to each other, hey, we're 90s sci-fi guys. We know how the early seasons of sci-fi go, and we know that they can be kind of rough. Babylon 5 had, honestly, Babylon 5 had one of the better first seasons that I've ever seen. I think by the time we're through all 22 episodes, you're going to look back at Stargate's first season and be like, it's actually a relatively strong season. Although there are definitely some hard episodes, and this one is there. We'll see where it winds up in the ranking.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here shortly, but that makes sense because even, I mean, not to make this about Babylon 5, but just so we can do it.
Oh, yes.
That had some rough episodes too, but we agreed at the end it was one of the stronger 90s first seasons there were. So it's expected, and there's a lot of episodes. This one had a really good, I'd say 2/3, 3/4 was really, really good in this one. But that's what I think of this. Just kind of let me
ask you this. Can I ask a question? Were you surprised that on episode 2, Kawalsky died?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think, and I think part of that is because this is 97, right? Yeah. So this isn't early 90s sci-fi, and we're starting to get a little bit gritty. And I think they wanted to show really early on that the goa'uld are a for real threat. And the only way you do that, like I said it during the reaction, they're going out of their way to give us tiny little emotional connections to him. So when he dies, we feel it.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I'm personally always surprised that they kill Kawalsky so fast, because he's a character from the film. He's a carryover. He's a big part. Like, he's the commander of SG2, which this is SG1, not SG2. That's okay. But like, you would expect him to be a guy who's around for a while, and no, they actually killed him. But I like what you just said, because it really, from the outset, shows just how deadly the goa'uld are, messing with them, even the infant goa'uld.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting time in television, the late 90s into the early 2000s. When people talk about things like Star Trek Enterprise or Battlestar Galactica that came out in the early 2000s, how 9/11 really changed the kind of TV we were watching. Yeah, but we were ramping up, in television to become a little more grittier overall. And I think a real consistent mechanism that they used for that was the violent death of somebody on the show. Yeah. Maybe not necessarily a main cast member, but somebody, that you connected with. So not shocking. So a little disappointing, especially like, it makes sense. I didn't know he was in the movie, but like when he and Ferretti showed up in the last episode, I can definitely understand how that Ferretti was probably in the movie too.
Yeah, both of them were. Yeah. Played by different actors. They were recast for the show, but yeah.
So that's it for my first watch. Did you catch any of those good sci-fi messages?
Oh boy, I did, because I went into this kind of going, maybe not. Look, okay. One, there is the line that Jack had. He said it's kind of a human thing. We tend to be afraid of things that we don't know. Like, holy cow, hit you between the eyes. They didn't really elaborate on it a whole lot. They didn't go super far into it, because there was actually so much more. This is actually, this is one of those things, Jeff. I got to be honest. This is not my favorite episode of the show. I tend to skip this one when I do rewatches, unless I'm doing, unless I forget to hit skip. It's like I might look at, After watching this episode through this lens for the first time, my opinion of this episode has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
It has really skyrocketed. Here's the thing. It is really interesting to me that both Teal'c and Kawalsky have a goa'uld in them. One of the two goa'ulds was actually malevolent. One of the two goa'ulds was actively killing people, actively hurting people, was a true threat. Yet for that one, Kowalski's, they did everything they could to honor and respect and maintain his humanity. But for Teal'c, whose goa'uld had not taken over everyone, had not actually been a threat, is contained, because I think we just decided that he's kegling that thing and not letting him out, right?
Goa'uld kegels.
Exactly. He is untrusted. He is a prisoner. They want to interrogate him. And let's face it, Kennedy was going to dissect Teal'c.
Oh, 100%.
He was going to go full Talia Winters on him. Like he was going to do to her what Bester did to Talia, right?
Oh, yes.
He absolutely was going to dissect him. He wasn't even a human to them because he was an alien. He was a Jaffa. He's not even human. He had no humanity. He has no rights. He has nothing that we have to respect at all. Jack even called that out. He's walking in when he's meeting Kennedy and Hammond's there, and he's like, you know what I did? I went and told Teal'c that we respect a person's rights here in this country. I was like, oh, shoot. And I'm reminded immediately of Star Trek. I'm reminded of Captain Kirk on the bridge in, I want to say it was Corbomite Maneuver, when the other ship had broken down, little young
Clint Howard.
Yeah, Clint Howard, his ship broke down. And Kirk turns around and goes, it's time to see if our high-sounding morals actually mean anything. You know what I mean? He's like, we respect a person, we believe in people's rights here, at least in America. And I would say for those who are listening around the world, most of the people who listen to this show are in a country where respecting someone's rights are at least a value that we state.
Mm-hmm.
Do we really do it, though, when the chips are down? And here's what we learned, Jeff. As much as they tried to deny Teal'c's humanity because he's a Jaffa, we also learned that Jaffa are, in fact, humans.
Right.
They are humans. And they completely miss the victimhood of not only Teal'c, but Jaffa everywhere. That they are as much victims as much as Kowalski is a victim to the Goa'uld. But they won't give that respect to Teal'c, but they're going to give it all over to Kowalski. I think even when you compare look at the three main people. Jack, the way he treats Teal'c, you pointed it out, talked about it so eloquently. Jack stayed static. He treated Teal'c the same at the beginning as he did at the end. Good. Kennedy stayed static. He treated Teal'c at the beginning the same way he treated him at the end.
Mm-hmm.
What I loved was Hammond.
Yeah,
look at how Hammond started the episode treating Teal'c more on Kennedy's side, and he went through the journey to come over to Jack's side. I love that we got that, but I will tell you what I also loved in the middle of this, and I never thought about this before. Back when I was doing Beam Me Up, a Star Trek podcast, when we got to Star Trek Enterprise, I realized something, that the message of Star Trek Enterprise is that humans, what we have to offer as humans is the hope of the universe. Because in the Star Trek world, you had the Vulcans and they were fighting with these people and these people were fighting with these people. It wasn't until humans came on the scene, albeit early, until they came on the scene when they were able to talk to everybody and bring people together into a united federation of planets. It wasn't until humanity came on the scene that we could do that. It wasn't the Vulcans who did that. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the other people who did that. It was the humans. Think about Babylon 5, right? You have the shadows, and now what we know are the Vorlons, and they're just engaging in these wars. And they fought the Minbari, they fought the Narn. Well, you know what's different about wherever they are right now? You know what's I'm guessing, I don't know yet, but I'm guessing we're going to see the end of the ultimate end of the Shadow of Orlan War by like the end of season 5 or something. You know what's different this time? Humans are here, right? They said this. So the humans are the Tauri. We seeded everybody. Because we rebelled, we are in the best position to go rescue all those people out there. And guess what? All those folks out there, they're our own. They are our own. We are the greatest hope of the universe. All of this comes back to that same idea of, are we going to treat them, whether they're from this planet or not, They are our descendants. Are we going to give them respect? Are we going to give them their humanity? Okay, let's put that to right now. Whether they're from this country or from another country, are you going to give them respect because they're still humans? Are you going to treat them with their humanity? Or are you just going to see them as an illegal invader and try to bust them out? Oh, they came here and then had kids just so they could claim citizenship. Who freaking cares? That is a person, you know? Now we got to deal with some stuff, but it's Jeff. This episode is chock full if you just sit back and look at it, man.
Yeah.
And I can't even say that it was intended, but my gosh, is it there?
Before we went on mic, we were kind of talking this through. You're like, yeah, I don't know what it's going to be, but I really don't think there's going to be a lot of a message in this one. So it should be pretty quick. But here we are at the point, Brent, where we're going to do the for the first time thing. And I'm almost more excited about this next part than I am in retrospect for having watched the episode. But you have the responsibility right now of taking that message you just gave us so well spoken. Now you have to boil that down into a rating. You're going to rate this on a scale of 0 to 5 chevrons as to how strong the message was. Please, Brent, I am dying to know what your rating is.
There's everything in me wants to go with a 5 chevron. This is not 5 chevrons, because I think a big piece of that, and we've often talked about, is the intentionality of the writers to say, this is the message I'm trying to get out. And I don't know that the writer was really fully going that route with it. Although,
really? It was so apparent.
Although we had this great line, we are often afraid of those things that we don't know. And we had these great things. So I definitely think that there was some intentionality. I don't think he was going with humanity as the hope of the universe type thing, as much as just, hey, we are the ones who are in best position to go get our guys. And here's a little bit of the history of what happened. So I'm going to give the writer like half credit on intentionality, but the messages, if you really look at them, are fairly replete. I'm going, Jeff, I think I'm going 4.5.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to go 4.5 chevrons on this one, because I told you my respect for this episode skyrocketed. Now, I've not had time to think this through and mull it over, but where I am right now, my respect for the show is absolutely skyrocketed. There is so much in this show that is right there. The only thing I think that knocks it down is I'm just giving him half credit for intentionality. Other than that, It's a great episode, great message episode. This could fit in Star Trek super easy.
Yeah.
It's that sci-fi message, right? Like all the way through.
100%. Yeah. It's a little more generous than I would have been with it. About 0.5 more generous. But...
I was going to say 3.5, but I was like, no, it's 4. Actually, you know.
Yeah. So. It's powerful. I mean, even like if you go back and you watch in the reaction, like Brent's even just like, writing this one down. Like, here it is.
Oh my gosh. Hey, It's amazing when you actually start looking for those, you know, because I know these episodes really well. Just in my head, I was going, this is an episode about addiction and how you treat somebody who's in the throes of addiction. That was where my pre-watching the episode was kind of thinking it was going to go.
Yeah.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. All right, Jeff. So I rated this on chevrons. I'm saying 4.5 chevrons, man. I'm going to leave it there. You, however, get to rank the episode. Listen, it's only got one it's got to contend with right now. Last week was Children of the Gods. This week is Enemy Within. Jeff, where are you placing today's episode, Enemy Within?
Yeah, I'm going to get right to it. There's no real talk through. I think I've already shared my thoughts. This is number 2 at this point. And I mean, really, comparatively speaking, it is number 2. At least the last little bit of it. Just the last little bit of it.
Oh, Jeff. Ouch. That is awful.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. Well, and that's going to be it, man. That's the show. That's going to do it for the Enemy Within. Next week, when we come back, Jeff, we are watching an episode called Emancipation. I promise you've seen this episode before.
Really?
That's the only hint I'm going to give you. You have seen this episode almost exactly before. Jeff, do you care to venture a guess whatsoever as to what this episode could be about?
This is going to be that one episode that's in a number of different series, probably, where they come to a planet. There's some oppressive thing going on. They side with the poor little plebeian people and bring them to freedom. This is going to be one of their first planets. This is their away mission. We're going to see them on another planet, and they're going to go free some enslaved enslaved people.
You're a good guesser, and that's all I'll say. I'm not commenting one way or the other. I just look. Well, we'll see next week.
Well, actually, let me do this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a big mistake that I made. I've made in some of our other things. I'm going to get more specific. These slaves are not only just slaves, but they're actually like put into like they play games with them and like gladiator games, and it's very violent and it's very bad. And there's these overlords that are probably goa'ulds, I don't know, but like that bet on it, and it's a thing that they do, and they're going to have to break that whole thing up. I'm thinking along the lines of Gamesters of Triskelion right now, but I probably just got way too specific.
Like I said, you're a good guesser, and that's all I'm going to say. We will see right here next week on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Hey, folks out there, thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget you can subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to leave us a rating and review, and please share this podcast with somebody that loves Stargate SG-1. And either they love it already or they're going to love it because they're going to join us on this journey. They're going to join Jeff on the journey for the first time. And maybe you're rediscovering some new things about the show along with me. So with that, until next time, folks, we appreciate everything that you guys are doing. And
hey, Brent.
Yes, Jeff.
I'm going to go try a Stargate swirly.
Oh, for crying out loud.